For years, I ignored them. Frequent and striking as they were, I came up with reasons to dismiss them. There are so many collisions and ricochets of phenomena that there are bound to be coincidences. It doesn't follow that they mean anything special. What about the days in between when there aren't any? And what about the fact that the ones I notice are invariably so trivial and useless? They aren't exactly the lottery numbers, are they? Why bother paying attention to occurrences you can neither predict nor control, nor do they have any practical utility at all? I vividly remember the one that changed my thinking. It has even become a kind of family touchstone. We were out on a walk with our then quite new puppy, Comet, when our daughter decided that Comet should have a middle name. When we asked her to suggest one, she came up with Theodore. Around the very next corner, we ran into another family walking their dog. As the dogs sniffed each other by way of greeting, our daughter asked the other dog's name. It was Theodore, which, you'll agree, is not an especially common name for a dog. After a few moments of shared, stunned silence, I decided two things, one aloud, the other quietly. The first I suggested to my wife and daughter, that henceforth the measure for judging remarkable coincidences that befall any of us should be named the Theodore scale. And secondly, that from now on I was going to note down every single one that happened to me, big or small, and think about each of them more deeply. And over the past several years, neither the coincidences nor I have stopped. Of the ones that I record, I have been startled by, first of all, their frequency, then by the degree of their unlikelihood, which I try to measure through their lack of relationship to any currently trending or generally well-known topic, or to any algorithmic manipulation online. They have to turn up as out of the blue as Theodore did, just brought to us by the flow of life. And they have to do so within a time window of at most 36 hours, otherwise I'm not counting. And from these blink and you miss it instants, playing a game of joining dots and bringing my attention to each different dot, here is my sense of the form that I have traced. From the sheer number of coincidences that appear once you start to pay attention, I came to believe in a deliberate, communicating presence that was beyond random. From the exquisite level of fine-tuning that goes into so many of them, for example, that more than one person had to be at a precise spot or make a very particular choice for both parts of a coincidence to play out, I came to believe that this presence was sharing with me hints of its attributes, that it is, from all appearances, omnipotent, because it can arrange for multiple elements, including the will and apparently spontaneous choices of myself and or other people, to be exactly as they must in order for a coincidence to occur, and omniscient, because it must know what's coming up to set up again and again the acts and choices that will lead to the coincidence in the future. For example, that somebody else must mention the Edison Hotel in Midtown Manhattan that I'd never heard of before, so that it will resonate when the same hotel turns up in an episode of Seinfeld that I chose to watch randomly and out of sequence the next evening. One day, I named this entity the Great Orchestrator. Of course, I had already been calling them God for a while. And for a while, I had been reading the coincidences as hints, hints of God's attributes, hints of how they manifest in the world if we choose to pay attention, to reflect, and to connect. And also extraordinarily fine-tuned, personalized hints through which they might be letting us know that at every moment we are exactly where they intend for us to be, and to take our next steps, no matter what has happened, suffused, strengthened by this awareness, and interpreting and evaluating events in its light. GPS, God's positioning system, I began calling it, because as we start to notice it, we need never again feel truly lost or forgotten. And I added over time God's pedagogical system, through which they might be instructing us on how to decipher their presence and feel them near. And God's practice system, through which we are being given constant opportunities to practice reorientating ourselves and to re-evaluate and live in the full light of the incredible truth we are gradually becoming aware of. Over time, trying to practice living and seeing in this way, other remarkable realizations followed. That perhaps this GPS had always been around, emitting signals and clues and waiting patiently for me to spot them. And not just fleeting ones, the kind I had for years dismissed as being practically valueless. Now, as I look back at my past with as much openness and attention to detail and nuance as I was capable of, what I kept coming across at some of its most significant junctures were jaw-dropping convergences, coincidences, and connections that I hadn't noticed before. Yet in fact, they had changed the course of where I would study and live, the work I would do, and even who I would love. Over time, trying to practice living and seeing in this way, I came to believe that such a GPS exists because God is deeply present in the world, and that it comes to light when we are too. And that is why I'm sharing my story. Not at all to ask you to take my word for it, but rather to humbly suggest that you look out for similar kinds of hints sprinkled across your life, if you don't do so already, which might take the form of repeated coincidences or sliding doors moments that prove to be turning points, or nudges from an inner voice, or indeed other hints that would be encrypted and personalized just for you and no one else would recognize except the omniscient, omnipotent one reaching out to you. The omniscient, omnipotent one reaching out and us paying attention and taking the hint. For now, that is my picture of how this other GPS works. Let's see where it takes me. And please, do let me know if it has helped you. Thank you.